Welcome, everyone. I love that Love Fest is already happening. It's perfect. Hi, Jules.
Hi, loves. Hi, everybody's.
Thank you for being of service in this way today. I'm really looking forward to this conversation and us connecting in this way.
Me too. Me too,
too.
medicine.
Oh, so I thought that, I'm just going to start by just sharing my experience of you and when we first met, which was years ago now. I don't even know how many years ago it was, but it was years ago, and your work really touched me. And then through the years, we've developed a friendship, which I'm so grateful for. And one of the things I was thinking about, I just remember, so when I first met Jules, she would offer a kitchen healing. And I gathered a few women together and we sat around the table at my house, and Jules did her thing that she does. And we all got to go around and share our stories of how, we relate to food and how we relate to kitchen and, what our experience was. And so I got to share my experience, and oh my gosh, the healing that I received and the opportunity to really shift, to acknowledge the old way of being and how I saw myself, and how you taught me how I could create a new way of being with myself that would in turn support my husband and my children, and really something that I still envelop in day to day. Like, it's not just like a one conversation, like that's it. It's like it still evolves in my life to this day. And one of the things that my kids say very often is woodward love. Mommy, are you making a woodward love? And I would love for you to share about that, because I know some people don't even know what that is. And it's more than just beautiful food on a beautiful board. It's more than that. You really taught me how to create beauty in the kitchen. I mean, the flowers that are there and the altar that I made and the fruit and the this and the that, it's just, when it doesn't look that way, because that's just life, sometimes it doesn't, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to like heal in here, and you taught me that. And just please jump in and just, I mean, I could go on and on and on about my experience and what you've taught me. But again, just that it's just continues to evolve into my life on a day-to-day basis, which I feel like is so important because, being on this spiritual path, if you feel called to be on one, it can get very like airy-fairy. And to really experience something that's very grounding and something that I can implement into my own life personally, but the ripple effect that I see in my family, and that's the experience that they're having, is just really beautiful. It's really beautiful and realistic. It's realistic. So.
Oh, I love you, and I love you and all of you, all these boxes that really should be round. We'll work on it. And the stories we carry, I love you, and I love all our stories. Paula, thanks for inviting me here. This is one of the first few interviews I've done outside the cave of writing, and so many things breaking open and through in my life. And so I show up here vulnerable and a little shaky, not in my conversation around this topic. I could do it blindfolded, and that would be fun. Maybe we'll try it, but not today. It's just great to name where we are. It's always so, it's like, I'm you, you're me, we're all in this together, and we all said yes today, and that's fucking awesome. So I just want to start there. Yay for us saying yes, and all the people who couldn't be here but will listen to the recording, they're here too, because all of our yeses create change in our lives. That's what they do. The yes is a life changer. And this conversation around beauty and ease and freedom and permission inside our lives and inside the kitchen, which is really a body and a mother, and God willing, we have a healer to get us through all the stories and where and how we were shaped in here. I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to be today, and I just was feeling into my body. I took a shower, which is a miracle. That's a yes for me. That's a miracle. I'm one of those women that can go without taking a shower. Not a good trait for my emotional life. I'll be like, wait, when's the last time I took a shower? Anyway, so I decided that let's do it in the kitchen, because we're talking about that. But we can really talk about kitchen and cooking and turning on the fire really anywhere in our lives. And like Paula was saying, it is a forever conversation, the conversation of the stories we carry in our bodies, how we were nourished or not, how we woke up in the mornings, what it looked like, the vulnerability, beginning of our adulthood of shame and blame to the parents who were doing their best, even though that didn't maybe look like it. And then as we move through awakening and healing in our lives, we find that we're getting closer to ourselves. And that's what we're doing, when we come into the kitchen, when we break free into the door frame that is the kitchen. And I just wrote a book. The last proof is on my desk, and it's going into print in a month. And so I'm more clear when you ask me a question. We won't maybe go to Uruguay. That was 15 years. I used to just, many of you, Kelly, many of you know me from a long time, literally we would just travel the globe and we'd get somewhere. I don't know where we'd go. Rachel knows this very well. And then, finally, the book process was like a pasta sieve. It just really, truly took me through oh, this is what this work wants me to say, to be, for you to carry. And so I'm so grateful to be here. I mean, it's a yes for me all the time, how we nourish our lives and what happens in these spaces that were really riddled with event-like feelings and obligation and perfectionism. And that never served. I don't know if there's any woman I've ever met that was like, my perfectionism, I mean, it's freeing. It's freeing. It makes me feel light. I don't ever hear that. So I'm not a fan. I like to break through it and really talk about it, grieve it. And we can bring all of that stuff into a wood board, love cutting up food on a wood board. We can bring it into steeping our tea. Anytime you turn on the coffee pot, the rice cooker, you can bring this trauma, this deep grief, and you can let it transform. You can literally, I would say, let go and let fire in the rice cooker. The term is God, but fire is source, right? We can do it. Anyway, Paula,
Hey, Jules,
do you have questions for
it's
me?
Rachel. Can I pipe in as a longtime client and admirer of Jules about
I love
permission
you.
and wood boards? Because
I love
I
you.
want to share what my wood board was just last night.
Yes.
It was microwave chicken nuggets, multicolored peanut M&Ms, and potato chips with a side of roasted Brussels sprouts from like 3 nights ago.
Those are the best kind.
And it was gone. And my daughter was happy. And so was I. So like the ultimate permission, like, yes, there were some Brussels sprouts on there, but just a few, honestly. But I was like, this is great. I was winning. And it was on a beautiful board. And that was her dinner. And thank you, Jules. That's all
I love you. I love you for sharing that. I always say, it's really, we make it ours. Of course, the work, Rachel, is not just in the wood board. And I love you for you to get to the fact that you're okay with M&Ms and whatever. Everyone's going to talk to you later, after the meeting. But anyway, all to say, yeah, we're just getting closer to ourselves when we're surrounded by what we love. And, no one is in the way more than you. Love you, me too. And really, we think it's someone else. And boy, am I in a lot of support to make sure it's not. But it really is me. And so I'm here to support you to get to you. I think that's all healing. We're just like naming what is in the way. And then as we name it, it disperses. And that happens so much around food, money, sex, relationships, marriage, but I'm more in the kitchen at the moment. We'll see what happens after that. So Paula, do you want to ask me questions or am I just improvising? I mean, I'm open to go.
I love everything that everyone's sharing. But for those that maybe don't know, what is a woodboard love?
A woodboard love. Let's take a look, shall we? A woodboard love can be any board. I mean, like any of these, right? You could do any board. And over time with this work, I ended up creating heart boards that are in my love shop on the website. I don't make them. I love when people don't really know this word and they're like, she's whittling in her garage. Yay, Kelly. And so, I'm not whittling wood. I love you. I'm a Jew from Boca. I didn't learn how to do the wood thing, but I'm open. I'm open because I'm changing all the time. A woodboard love is really it's literally freedom. And Rachel really brought that in to our space here. I'll give you a little story of how it started. So in our culturalist culture that can't hold us or reflect for us until maybe today, because we'll create a little culture here in our group love. I realized as I became a new mom that I just was so willing to let myself go. And then people were hanging on me and they were hungry and I made them. And I wasn't quite sure what to do about their hunger and all the things like their hunger on all the levels and the hunger I thought my marriage was and I was and all the things. And so I just started to cut up some food on a wood board, as one does when they're going through that kind of trauma. And so I was just like, oh my God, they're hungry all the time. They're like wolves. And, you feed the wolves you want to keep. So I decided to start feeding them in a way that I could meet it. So, the food might have not been ready, but what was ready was a knife and an apple and a block of cheddar. And so I started cutting food up. And then what I noticed is they were eating and then I got calm. Very basic. This is the very beginning, when we were all on horses and chariots. And so this was the early days and I was like, ooh, I could maybe go pee right now. Oh my God. And then I decided to put a few more things and then people would come over. I just kept the board out. Like it literally never went anywhere. It just stayed there. And then things just kept moving more and more on it. And then of course it shifted with different times of the day. And I was gathering women in the kitchen. Of course, there's much more of an origin story to the kitchen healer in my work. But really, this was it was the seed of freedom and permission. And no, it's not a platter. No, don't call it a platter. It's not a platter. A platter means we're going to have a party where we have to show up in a certain way. I just feel like a platter is an 80s word. We can let it go, along with the plastic lemons. None of that is feeding us, right? It's just the way we grew up and maybe some potpourri that's toxic. I mean, I love you. I'm not judging. I'm just naming things from my childhood that really they were confusing things. So yeah, cut up food, still do it till this day with an over 6-foot son. And where it started was with him. I would come home from the market and I would just put out I'd cut the strawberries. There were certain things that I would notice, like tons of fruit everywhere. Nobody wants it. And then I would go to cut it up and then it was gone. And I'm like, okay, I'm in a research project, getting a PhD with no one watching because I'm home alone, where I need a village and a tribe of elders. Let's grieve. And so I decided to just cut up more food for my son, who loved it so much. And then smoked salmon showed up and a few other things. And then what was so great about it, and it's actually, it goes super deep. That's what's so beautiful about it. It's so simple and it's so doable, like Rachel shared. And then it also like lets your kid or anyone that comes in have their own story. Like you get to have no more control over anything. Like you get to like hold the container of your values, like whatever those are. And then you get to like let go. I think we're just in the theme of let go. I'm bringing it to us. And so, you just get to let go whatever you put on the board, and then they have their own experience instead of like hovering over them. Hey, did you see the green thing? No, they don't want to see the green thing, or whatever it is that we're doing. And then we go, well, why are we doing that? Right? Because it's actually when we start asking the question, when we slow it way down, which is where I live. I mean, not in my day-to-day, but I'm working on it. But in my work, right? We slow it way down. We slow it and we ask the question, like, why am I doing that? Why am I helicopter or private jet mommying it? Why am I on the bus, like just going around and around on them? Or why am I so worried that they're not eating? Or why am I or that they're going to eat all of it? Or like, what's that? And then we get to go, oh, that's my work. That's not their work. And so then we get to go inside and hang out with me or any trusted, loving human that you feel safe with. And you get to look at what those stories are like. Oh God, I'm really all over that. I'm still freaking doing this, not with food ever, but with my son, like just with the phone. I'm just like, oh my God. And then what's so great about our relationship now is he's like, you're on top of me. I'm like, I'm fucking on top of you right now. You are so right. I'm getting off right this minute. So I'm so grateful that he can be like, can you just stop? I'm like, yeah, I can. I'm looping you like a cashmere scarf. So all to say, the woodboard love has been so many things, and so many women have had so many different experiences with it, even in their marriages. My husband doesn't like it out because like it just doesn't end and there's so much food, and everybody can start looking at that story, whatever it is for them. And obviously you can do whatever you want ever, but with the board. And so, yeah, it's been a beautiful opener, and what I love about the heart is, this work, we think it's for today, May the 4th be with you, May 4th, right? But it's actually, it's a legacy. So when we start to rewrite the stories that we carry, we didn't just carry them. All the women behind us in this Breville, they're all sitting in here. All my friends and women in my lineage, they're all in there. And then they're behind the wall, and then they go all the way out of Pasadena. They're so far back. And same with you all. And so we get to rewrite the stories they couldn't. And that's pretty powerful stuff. And so when we do that, and when, I don't know if you had the Beatrix Potter or, whatever it was that you have, like the little spoon or whatever it is from your childhood, it's so beautiful that now the work has been going on a long time that, the kids then take this to college, or they have it in their first apartment, or, and so it really is like, it's a beautiful legacy piece of remembering, that. So, I mean, there's so many pieces to it. It's probably the biggest chapter in the book, that's coming out in November. And so you'll read more about it. And of course, I'll be talking a lot more about woodboard love. But it really does shine a light on all the different areas of the stories we carry around being nourished or not, and how much freedom and permission we're willing, right? We're willing to give ourselves And Rachel, of course, came right in with that spirit of willingness, which is really everything. It's your yes here. And it's like, oh, anything could roasted carrot. Oh, I'm going to put olive oil all over. Oh, I'm going to put the goat cheese on there that doesn't have a container. Like, olives, it's a little harder. I mean, that's like, whoa, okay, super freedom / let's get a little bowl. But it really, like, there's so much beauty in the freedom of just putting things out and then letting it go, letting yourself go, pee and get a tea. And I'm sure we could keep rhyming all day long. But what the beauty of Wood Board Love now is that I get to put it out, whoever is coming over or whoever lives here, or even for myself, which is now more than ever that I'm doing it for myself. And then I'm cooking. Because, we get to look at that, like, wait for dinner thing. What's that? Oh, but I want to sit with my kids and I want to sit with everyone. Okay, well, when they're not regulated, you want to run the hell out of the country. So regulate them with a little board, then sit with them, and then everyone's together. That value can totally stay intact when everyone's fed, totally. So that old thing, I mean, I'll still hear the neighbors saying that, like, oh, don't wait, and I have a wood board out and I'm like, I didn't hear anything. Did you hear anything? I don't know what's going on. I'm just trying to, I'm not controlling anybody's values. And I have strong ones. It's okay. So yeah, it's really, and I'm also, a side note, my daughter's, growing a body. She's 11 and her name is Beauty, and she's showing me the way every minute. And I'm noticing that she is the kind of, we've been going through a lot of deep new times, and she likes to eat and not stop. Okay, well, I didn't have that with Ocean. Ocean was just totally like, I'm full. And that's like me, like, I'm full. I don't need to keep going. I'll look over at Beauty and I'm like, she's eating all the edamame. What happened? And then she's like, I'm hungry. And I'm like, okay, that can't be hunger for food. And so we got a team, but here's the thing. Now I'm like, okay, now the language is shifting a little bit. Like, this is the wood board for now. And then we'll see, we're going to take a walk. We'll have some water, right? Because hunger comes in all different sizes and shapes and colors. And she's like, totally. And then she forgets. So I'm just shifting it up a bit. I'm like, Wood Board Love, and then shifting it up. So that's new. That wasn't from the place of having little babes, so it's beautiful how it can shift and change. Doesn't mean we need to take it away. Don't need to be extreme, which is what we saw. Thank you, 80s, 70s, even 90s. In the realms of food, we can just start to have the conversation, get curious, shift up the environment, right? So I hope that gives some clarity on it. Did I go to Uruguay? I feel like I stayed right here.
I don't think you went to Uruguay. Definitely go there with you, but I mean, there's so many beautiful things that you said, but I really connected to nourishing yourself while you're cooking. Like, so important, because as givers, it's so important to give to ourselves and to not put other people first, or if we do, to be like, oh yeah, let me give to myself so I can be of service to everyone else. And that really stuck out to me when you shared that piece.
I really love it. I love that. I love that. Just a quick 1-2 on that is that is everything, and I don't know anybody that saw that, truly. I mean, unless you're in Italy, it really, like, we didn't see it, especially in growing up here in this culture. Like, we really saw out, I'll get to me later. And then they're on fumes and then they're dead. We're like, okay, wait, what happened? And then we learned how to run on fumes. That's in the book as well. I write a lot about that because it's such a boring story, and I'll find myself doing it. And I'm like, oh my God, freaking doing it. Slow the freak down, and then I'll stop something, I'll cancel something, I'll reschedule something. The value is so high for me because I know it is not serving me. There's no later. So here's the great news. There's no later. Now is the new later, right? Later, it means never. So especially when, I mean, it's not even especially when, you can have kids, you can have jobs, you can make your relationship this. It's just whatever energy that you're putting towards not being with yourself, because it's the most intimate thing. You know, I know I've met so many who are like, wake up early for what? I'm like, okay, good. Let's start there. I don't know. What are you going to find? You know, and so, yes, feeding yourself, making a tea. I remember for years and years when I warmed things in a microwave, this is a really long time ago, I would find it there later. I'd be like, oh, there I am. I went in here to hide. Okay. And so, you know, and slash so sad, like slash the deepest sadness, longing for myself, you know, all of it. And so we don't have to do it that way. You know, that's the thing, is we don't have to do it that way. And there are other ways. And even in just having a conversation like this, you know, you're going to get off and be like, I'm freaking going to light a candle. I'm going to make a tea, you know, whatever it is. And I hear all the, well, I mean, if I didn't have a job, or I don't have money to do that. You know, I hear them. I know them really well. I know how to pierce all the fantasies. I grew up with all of those. And yeah, they're just in the way to you. Like, you can do it. And so can I. And we're doing it. We're in a forever conversation with it, because life's in session, right? It's not like I'm not going to wait for life to make room for me like that. Love you, life. And you know, that's just that's living in the fantasy. So you have to make it happen, which you all did today. So I know you all have the muscle, you know, it's all here. And I learned from an amazing human here, Rachel, that, you know, when people want something, they go and get it. So so yeah, it's a real truth. So okay. Hi, go ahead, Paula.
Yes, they do. I just wanted to open it up for questions. Just what are you hearing? How's this conversation landing for you? Just want to open it up to people that want to ask questions or gain clarity or share. Who would like to begin?
Kelly.
Hi, everybody. Jules, I have to cover your square up. That should be a circle or I'm going to cry. Paula, this is amazing. Nice to meet you. And Rachel, I've had that exact meal, I think, pretty sure. So I appreciate that. I think I met you on this journey, Jules, Blaine Davis, about 25 years ago. I was doing the math in my head. And I just want to say the consistency is just breathtaking. So thanks for that. I mean, it's all there from just pre-inception of wood board love through to the book. So thanks for letting me witness all of that, and for sending the email last night. And I was like, oh my God, I can totally make that time. I just left this horrible job, and I had all this other stuff and I canceled it. I was like, I don't need to do that. I need to be in a container with women. That's what I need to do, who have an intention for, you know, whatever we all do there. The thing that has stuck out to me so far, knowing Beauty since she was in your belly, and being somebody who's eaten like that, is that I'm so happy to hear that you were able to support that pivot, and that you know, it's taken me 55 years to learn how to do that for myself. And it's been exhausting to do 117 tap dances every day. So it's just nice to hear about good parenting. It helps me remember how to parent myself in a loving way. And also, you know, if I want to eat the last edamame, that's also okay. So I just wanted to say kind of a big thanks. And it's so nice to see everybody.
So good to see you, Kelly. Love seeing you here. And I love you.
I love you too.
Nice to meet you, Kelly. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Or who's next? Sandra?
Can you hear me? Because I'm trying out a new speaker thing. Okay, great.
We can
First
hear
of all, good. I just love you, Jules. I only went to one of your sessions once, and it was at Paula's old place. I had never been to a circle when I went first to Paula's circle, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? This is amazing. And then when I heard about you, Jules, I remember Paula saying to me, you just have to go and experience it. And it's difficult to explain what she's about. And sure enough, that was the case. And I bought one of those heart boards, which I use all the time now. So my background is European. My parents were both born in Latvia, and food has always been central to our upbringing, to the point where I was starting to feel kind of crazy. Maybe not everyone was doing this. And but it was very communal, like it was all about community. And that to me is so important, is just the sharing of anything, but specifically food, because food does create comfort, and it creates an aura of when you're sharing that, then things come to the surface, and you speak and you hear and you can listen to different stories, which is what I loved when I went to your session. But I was going to ask you, how have you combated, or have you just sort of rolled with it, the whole thing of COVID and when isolation? The reason I'm asking is because I conduct circles for women, or trying to, and I'm doing it on Zoom, and then I was doing it in person. Then I kind of stopped the in person because people were afraid to meet, and I would love to restart that again. And I'm just going to bring out that board again. But did you find it hard to do that during this whole COVID stint? And are you still finding it, or what are you doing? I wouldn't mind asking you how the challenge of community when we're afraid of each other, literally.
That's such
But
a
not like
great.
people are resurfacing now, but
That's
I
great
just don't know how
thinking.
to deal with that.
Yeah,
This has been a challenge.
it has, and I feel like it's changing every second. It really is going to come from how you feel, for sure. Like I think it's so personal. COVID just became the most personal inquiry in the realms of how scared we are or not, and how over it we are. I think that in terms of your question, is it how have I done woodboard love within community inside COVID? Is that what the question was?
Yes, please. Yeah.
I didn't do woodboard love inside community inside COVID,
Okay. Yeah. I
because
assumed, yeah.
I have been writing my book. And so I did woodboard love in my family inside COVID 24/7. And yeah, in terms of, but when we did do like a visit with people thing, I would make separate boards, but now I wouldn't do that. Now I think it's a free for all. But
Because I have the little containers on your board, like, here's a little container for each of you. But then it kind
yeah,
of,
no,
I mean,
I
it was
didn't
still,
really open, but I am actually going to in a few, I am opening it up. I'm feeling the call to do that in a month. I might do something here. And that's very, very new. But it really was guided by the book. And yeah, I'm probably not.
I'm so looking forward to reading your book, and what perfect timing to write during COVID then. So, I mean, you had in my mind anyways. So, well, thank you anyways. And I'm
Thank
just
you.
so elated to be here, because you're just seeing you in person as a reminder of, I mean,
Oh,
it's such a difference to experience you, is what I'm saying, versus just remembering about it. So
yeah,
thank
I
you for
feel like
that.
that way with all of us. So thanks for saying that. Yeah, we forget so easily. It's a big part of the conversation, how we forget ourselves. I look in the mirror and I'm like, hey, oh my God, how have you been?
Yeah.
I really do that all often, where I'm just like, oh my God, that's, the feeling I'm so connected to, even when they're shitty. And then I look in the mirror and be like, hey, you're not so bad after all. I'm surprised. So it's always good to remember each other. That's why we come
Love that.
together. So thanks
Mhm.
for sharing.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Sandra. Anyone else?
Love seeing everybody here. It's really wonderful. Thank you for coming. It's really beautiful to see faces I know and faces I'm gonna know. Monique.
Monique.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, it's been such a long time.
It has. So good to see you.
You too. And Jules, I'm not sure if I've ever met you. Maybe we've been in the same room back when Paula had her space in Culver City, but I'm not sure. But I am just loving everything that you've said. I've been like laughing like throughout your whole conversation here because you just make so many great points. And I really needed to just kind of let everything digest, everything that you've said in order for me to offer something, but I just had to step in because the door was open. But I really love that more and more people such as yourself are encouraging other parents, other moms to not burn yourselves to the ground. You don't have to do everything, just to giving yourself permission to let things go. And there's so much beauty in doing that. I'm on the other side of having young children. And when they were young, it was incredibly challenging because I had a husband that was kind of MIA, and he was working, you know, he was doing his thing to support the family. And I think that I felt like because he was doing that, I needed to like work so hard at home and pull my weight, which is just, you know, if you look at everything that the stay-at-home parent does, it's huge. And so thank you, Jules and Paula. I know that you stand by this of just giving people permission to let things go and see the beauty in that and letting things go and being present in that space. I hope that made sense.
It did. It makes so much sense. It's so intimate, just even trying to find the words around it. Like you even repeating, pull the weight. Like, I mean, are you fucking kidding? It's 2022 and we're still doing this. And it takes us. That's the thing, is it like you're not alone at home, you know, when you're like doing, and it's a practice. Like it is a recovery. Like this work and this conversation is a recovery that might require other recovery because it really truly is. It's in our bloodline. Like, it's not just like, oh God, I get so crazy. All the women that ever were before you, whoever is the first person that got crazy, you've been carrying it since then, right? So we came into crazy, and whatever that is for you, you know, inside, all it makes sense. Like you look at it, and I mean, I do this. I just shared a Sync Talk about this week. Like my list is nowhere near the time frame I have. Like I'm setting myself up over and over again with that, right? And it's like, that's a grieving, because we don't actually know how to be inside the day. We don't know how to be and receive inside the day. We make people, we make literally eyelashes and lungs, okay? That alone, okay? I mean, along with other things. And then we're like, I'm not enough. Like, what is wrong? What happened? Something is amiss, like about a million things. So we have to be talking about it, because it's completely crazy. It's crazy making, just like, and we look out inside in the world and look at how crazy it is out there. So we need each other. We need each other to go, hey, how are you doing it? How are you doing it?
Yes. I don't want to interrupt you or step over you, but it was just like reminding me of, you know, what sort of example were we offering our children, especially, well, so what I'm thinking about is, so when I lived in LA, my daughter went to Marymount. And so she's the oldest, and she's like the type A, just the grinder. Like she can just grind for the sake of grinding. And she was a junior in high school. And I remember picking her up from soccer. She was playing club soccer at the time. Of course, with all of the, it's like you have to play club soccer. You have to have a part-time job. You have to have, this is like race to nowhere. And and so I picked her up from soccer practice, and we got into the car, and she started to cry. And she said, when I'm on the soccer field, I don't think about anything else. I'm playing soccer, I'm with friends, I'm having a good time. And then once that's over, everything I need to do between now and the time that school starts comes flooding in. And she goes, it's too much. She said, if I stay awake from now until the time that school starts, I will not be able to get everything done that I need to get done.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew she wouldn't take advantage of this. So I offered to her, I said, I would be happy to call in sick for you. If that means that you want to sleep in all day, or whatever you want to do at that time. I said, and also she said, well, my teacher will be upset with me if I don't go, blah, blah, blah. And I said, nobody's going to stop the speed train. It's going to be up to you to do that.
Right.
So we got back home. I went into the kitchen and I started to make dinner. And a little while later, she came into the kitchen and her body language had completely softened. She had a smile on her face and she said, I'll take you up on that offer.
Mm.
And so I called in sick. And when I called in sick, the Marymount, whomever answered the phone was like, and what's the reason? And I said, frankly, she's exhausted. And I'm calling in sick for her. And she was like, okay.
Amazing. I love that story. I love that story as a balm for those of us who think that, the race is going to end by someone else's hand. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
You see some other hands.
I just want to say something to what you said.
Yeah.
I just wanted to highlight this. Together, Jules, and just this awareness that I have is that about the lineage, about the women that have come before me, the buck stops here. It stops with me to the best of my ability, but it stops here with me. And I think about that all the time. Like my children are receiving a woodboard love. I didn't even know what that was until I met Jules. I did not grow up. I love my mom and the women that have come before me, but they just didn't have that same awareness. And I do. And because I do, my children are having that experience. And woodboard love is just an example of many things, how I choose to live my life. Choosing to be with all of you right here, right now is not only serving me, but it is a ripple effect into my life, into my children, my husband, into the person I will see when I open the bedroom door. It's really beautiful. And I just want to highlight that because it's so important. And it really goes back to giving to ourselves, whether it be a woodboard love for ourselves or gifting ourselves as time, being, like what Kelly said, it's like, oh, I had this shitty job and this and the other. And I was like, screw it. I'm just going to be here and be here in this time with all of you. And I'm so grateful to be here with all of you and that you all said yes to being here. And just by doing that, it's like that creates a shift. And for those of us who feel called to be in motherhood or whatever, it doesn't have to just be motherhood. It can be just living life. That is a example to other people for them to see us giving to ourselves, which is everything. Thank you.
I love that.
Thank you.
It's just such a big conversation. It's like, it really is forever. And I say it even in the book, like, we're going to do what we can in this generation. But I think we're doing a lot more than they were able to. And I think we're just going to keep going. So there's a lot of hope in that. Okay. Is it Kirsten?
Yeah.
Hi, it's Kirsten. It's good
Kirsten.
to be here. Yes. It's so lovely to meet you. And Paula, I've been in your space. I've hosted in your space. So this is just really lovely to be here with all of you. Something you said, Jules, struck me about being in the kitchen, and you said something about roles that reminded me. So my husband and I were in our couples therapy session yesterday and started a conversation. As the session ended, we opened up and extended the conversation. And we were talking about, we have a 13-month-old son. And it's really important for us as we parent to have conversations around how we were parented and how we were raised and how we want to do things differently with Archer and how we want to do things the same, being able to carry those legacies. And we were talking specifically about how in our postpartum period, my postpartum period, he took on all the things that I normally took on, or the things that we split, he now was responsible for fully. And how it related to his feelings of some resentment and feeling like he wanted a return on that, like joy and various things. And he was under the impression that I got joy out of all the things that came in the immediate postpartum period of motherhood, which didn't actually end up happening the way he expected. So I missed my work. I missed things that I anticipated wanting to just be steeped in motherhood so completely. And I found that wasn't the truth for me. And I was honest with him about it. And we found a really beautiful way for me to begin working with clients again, and even having a reframe of how my work is offered. But this conversation around him having this residue of resentment because he was cooking all of the meal, and he showed up so fully in our postpartum and allowed me to really heal in the way that I knew through my Ayurvedic work and the things that I have studied was really important to me. But as I said to him in the conversation, it feels like he did those things with just a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, like he offered them. And so I asked him, and I want to share this with you guys, and maybe it hits home for you as well. I asked him why he couldn't be of service to me for the act of being of service to me. Because women are of service to so many people, and we do it so selflessly, but in a positive way. I don't mean selfless in a martyr way. I mean, like, it is so fulfilling for a lot of women, especially when we heal the masculine and feminine energy and put more attention and intention in there. And so I just asked him that question for him to reflect, like, why being of service in his home was it was a thing for him. So that's all I wanted to offer, just putting that out there. It's still a conversation we're having and exploring. And I think it's so beautiful that he's willing to be open to that conversation without shutting down, and that we can model this for our son as well. So happy to be here.
Thank you for sharing all of that. That's really beautiful. 13 months. Wow. Yay. I see Kimberly.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Jules.
Hi.
I have never met you before. I'm on the East Coast outside of Philly, but I was on your Instagram lives at the beginning of the pandemic. And I just want to tell you how much that did for me and how grateful I am. And so I was so sad when they stopped, but they were so wonderful. And one of the things that I learned so much from you during that time. But one of the things that I take away still every day is when I go and I buy vegetables or I buy fruit, I always take the label off and I own it in our kitchen. That was perfect.
Oh, I love that so much. Oh.
But so when you publish your book, will you come to Philly and do a book signing, please?
There's all sorts of meetings about all of that stuff coming up. But yeah, I mean, I love the idea of coming to Philly. I love Philly. I've had my husband grew up in Germantown, so it's sweet.
Mhm.
I'm so glad to see your face. Thanks for coming here. Yes, I remember I saw your name and I thought, I know her, but do I know her? And so that I was like, did she change her hair? But I don't know your face. And so now I do. And I love that. I'm so glad. Yeah, those lives, what a time. That was a time. I thought I was going to get a TV deal. That was so fun. I wasn't going to go to any studio. So there's that. But they would have had to come to me. But Beauty needed me, and so did the book. So it'll all be in there. Yay.
Great, thank you.
And there will be more lives. There's a live on the Friday, the 13th, but I don't think they're going to be on Instagram. So come over to Patreon. That's the community got more efficient and stronger. And so come on over there. Oh, what do we see? Love seeing you, Kimberly. Thanks for being here. Jana.
Hi.
I love.
Gosh, how long have I known you, Jules? I met Jules, I think I was coming out of college, and I applied for an internship when she was doing her clothing company, California Rising.
Oh my
So it's been a while. And I just, from my upbringing, I just remember just watching Jules and how she was. It was very, very different from how I grew up. And how I grew up was fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It was just like, I was helping with a lot of things. And at one point, I think we were cleaning something, and I was going to do the dishes, and I'm like, well, where's the soap? And you were like, oh, I think we're out. You can just rinse that bowl with water and just put it in the dryer. And I was like, well, no, you can't. No, you can't do that. That's not clean. And it was just like this, or it was like, oh, okay, you need me to do this? Well, where's the Windex? What Windex? You don't need Windex. I'm like, what do you mean? You need Windex. Where's the Clorox? Like, it was just very, very different. And it's funny because I did like a lot more, living. And then I kind of came around to realizing over, I don't know, maybe 10 or even maybe 15 years, how right Jules was and how more aligned I was with that than what I kind of had experienced growing up. And it was funny to just kind of come into my own at that time. And then, of course, Jules always would pop back into my life at these very, very needed times. I would just run into her. I think once it was right before I was getting married, I ran into you at Whole Foods. I think Beauty was running around with some flowers and she wanted to buy them. And you were like, well, no, Beauty, you need to put those back. And I told you I was getting married and I was going to hike the John Muir Trail for my honeymoon. And it was like, I met her then. It was just moments in my life, and then I had gotten pregnant and I ran into her again and I wasn't sure about my birthing story and I was panicked and it was all of this stuff. And then I actually ended up going to Paula, your space, and doing one of the just talks with I think it was Carrot. I forget what the name. Yes. So I did that with my husband, and it was like I didn't understand what all of my options were, and I didn't understand any of those things, and that was very informative. So it was just Jules has always shown up and kind of like helped guide me into a direction of where I needed to be. So I think I've been very lucky, and the stars aligning and kind of continually throwing me in her path of deal with this, Jules, help this person. So it's been great. And just really, I mean, it's taken a long time, but it's like I've never been really good with this middle way that Jules has shown. Jana, find the middle way. I'm very extreme with whatever I'm doing, whether it's work or this or that, and it's never. I didn't realize how, going back to the beginning of this conversation, how important it is for me to take care of myself. And I need to be full before I can help my husband and all of his insanely demanding, I hope he doesn't hear me, but his goals and like what he wants to do, and that's great and all. He can definitely hear me. And that's great and all, that's fine. But like I need to be able to speak up for when it's my turn. Like I need this. And we have a toddler, and that is a whole other conversation too. But it's just I need to take care of myself first. And for us, it is like as simple as I put out the wood board and I cut up the fruit and I put it out. And if no one else eats it, then I end up eating it. And it was like, oh, I wanted those strawberries. That's fine, but it is this, it's definitely a lifestyle, and it's definitely a change. So I think I'm a very lucky person when it comes to who's been placed in my life at certain times, because I had a very different trajectory back a little while ago. And now I'm a mom, and, trying to instill my beliefs with, my next generation. So that's all I got today.
Love you, Jana. Thanks for
Love you
being
too.
here.
Thank you so much for sharing, Jana. It's beautiful. Thank you. Okay, we have time for one more share.
I think I see Elmira.
Of course.
Hello.
Hello.
Paula, thank you so much for having these conversations. I've been looking forward to this morning for like a week or so or longer. Very nice to meet you, Jules. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. You like so much of what you said just penetrated so deeply within my soul. I come from a family of women taking care of so many people, and I really enjoy it too. Like from the core of me, I really enjoy cooking and having the boards and all these things. Like I love to watch people eat, and I'll make a whole cake and I just want to taste it, but I won't watch everyone else eat it. And I think you've brought the psychology to it for me, and like the emotional attachment to that I didn't even like really think about. And in hosting circles and things and cacao and sound baths, there was a moment where I'm like, well, maybe food is a distraction, maybe people just need to like focus in on the work, the cacao, the ceremony. So I took out the food. And then recently I had another session where I just made the biggest board, and it felt so good to me. And then I think this all just happened in the right timing where I'm like, I really love doing that. And it's really a big part of like nourishing the body, the mind, the soul. And you really brought it together for me of like how I do everything is who I am. And like that part of it, I should never take out, even if it does cost a little extra money, or like, even if it does take a little effort. It's about me and who I am. And these people come into my home to experience me, and the generational aspect of it, I think we're opening that part to others to maybe bring it into their own lives. And I love the story of like, just grab some M&Ms and some chicken nuggets and stuff, which I do all the time, but like making even that okay for everyone. It's just like, grab whatever you have, and it's about the self-care. And thank you so much to both of you. I'm so fulfilled and yummy and nourished. Thank you
so much for sharing. Oh my gosh. But that's what we do, right? It's so beautiful. My cup runneth over because I chose to spend this time with you all. It's amazing and never gets old to me. So thank you, Jules. Thank you.
Just love being with everybody. Are you joking? Is this over? Stop it right now. We're just getting started.
We are so just getting started.
There's a few places, if you love this, you might love so this conversation's happening all the time on Patreon. There's sync talks, they go out, and then I'm going to start doing more live things too. And you can check that out really anywhere. I think it's on my site, which is really easy to find, which is my name, julesblainedavis.com. I think that's my name. Say my name, say my name. Okay. I'm not Rihanna. I think it's Rihanna. Anyway, whatever. I'll just say it's always good to leave on a high note, a note you can't even sing. And so that's a beautiful place. And if you're local, there will be things, and then there's a retreat in the fall, and then the book comes out in November, and there will be a local launch. And then of course I'll be rolling it out big time all over the world. Right, Rachel?
Absolutely.
Anyway, love all of you. I love your yes. And just know that you, when you're like later and you're like, this is totally it. And then like something comes in and life does its thing, which is so gorgeous too, even though hard, and an invitation shows up, you're not alone. Like you did this today. And so bring me and all of us with you. I'm going to do that. I'm going to bring all of you with me today into the next thing, right? Because we forget within an hour that we had this and we loved it so much. And so just know that this is a practice, and we're all on the path together. We're just right beside each other, going, oh, I'm doing that again, or, oh, look, it's a new way. And no one's reflecting that. Okay. So, we get to just do this together. And I think that we're starting to learn that in this time frame. So, mwah.
Thanks, Jules. Thanks,
Jules.
Paula.
Thank you.
Love
Thank
you
everyone.
all.
Love you.
Love you.